Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and welcome to the review of Netflix new science fiction thriller, The Last House. This film stars Greta Lee and Wagner Moura as husband and wife of this family who are trapped unexpectedly inside of their homes. And as time passes, they learn the whole world is affected by this unknown force. So they learn to survive through as the days and years pass them by. This film is directed by Louis Leterrier, who has given us the Transporter films, The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. He also, I think he directed one of the Fast and Furious movies, if I'm not mistaken, as well. He's one of these directors that, you know, isn't a, super well known director, but the films that he has been a part of have been mildly successful, if not real successful, and, kind of mid tier, but enjoyable, entertaining. I always found him as an entertaining director. I enjoy his movies. I know that, prior to this latest phase of the MCU, in the early stages of Marvel, The Incredible Hulk was looked upon as the most lesser than, but I actually enjoyed The Incredible Hulk as well as the Transporter films. I enjoy them for what they are. They're not Academy Academy level films, but they are entertaining, and his movies are entertaining. And this looked like a different type of film for him because this isn't a fast-paced action movie that he is accustomed to making. And I'm looking forward to The End of Oak Street, which comes out next week, I believe, with Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway. And it's kind of a similar premise. Not the same, but the same, It's kind of following the same beats. And this film quickly popped up on my radar when I saw the trailer. I think like two or 3 weeks ago. It just popped out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, I can get with that. Greta Lee has popped. I mean, she's been in everything lately, from Tron Ares to providing her voice in Toy Story 5. She was Lily Pad in Toy Story 5, and providing her voice in all of the Spider-Verse animated films as well. She was the voice of Lydia. And I actually enjoy Greta Lee. Beautiful woman as well, but I do enjoy her as an actress. And Wagner Moura is a very, very underrated character actor who has recently, gotten some starring roles as of late, especially coming off of his Academy Award nomination last year for Best Actor. So it's good to see these two paired up together, and I wanted to really see how this family dynamic thing will work. Let me start off by saying I didn't know much about the film, and I doubt if anybody else did, because not much was shown. No real synopsis of the film was released. You just know that this family is trapped in the house by an unknown force, and they have to learn to survive in the house. And I don't know if anyone else out there is like me, but when I go see a movie of a certain genre or something, especially when it comes to horror or thrillers or things of that nature, I always judge it on what would I do in that situation. How would I handle this situation? And that's kind of how I base the movie and grade the movie on. Would I make a decision like that, or will I go down that tunnel, or will I hide behind the wall, this certain wall, and not run and not make a sound. It's stuff like that. That's stuff that plays in my head while I'm watching the movie. And so immediately, me being trapped in a house, who I am a person that is highly claustrophobic. I got anxiety issues, all that. My mental health is at 12 from 1 to 10. So I can't handle being trapped anywhere. If there's no windows in the room, I got to get out of it. I cannot sit in a room with no windows. I can't do it. And so even with windows and not knowing that I can't get out, it drives me insane. Being in the movie theater, and I'm gonna get to the movie review, trust me, but I just got to get this rant out real quick. Even going to the movies, when I'm in the theater and it gets dark, my anxiety starts to act up, because I'm nervous, like I'm trapped. And so I have to constantly survey the theater, hurry up and look where the exits are, the emergency exits, just in case something happens. So once I identify where the exit door is, and I do the little calculations in my head, the little Rain Man calculations in my head, and like how long it's going to take me to get to that door, how many people I got to run past to get there, and so on and so forth. This is my movie going experience, and this is somebody who loves to go to the movies week in and week out. And I still got to do this every single time I go to the theater. But I can't just sit in one spot and not know I can get out in the moment's notice. Otherwise, I can't sit in that room or in that theater or in that house. And so in this film, this family is trapped in a house like everybody else around the world. This phenomenon took place, and I'm not going to spoil anything here in case you don't know what the film is about and how they're trapped in the house, how the whole world are basically trapped in their houses and at this moment. But it is frightening to me. That was a frightening scenario. And immediately I was like, I wouldn't make it past one day. There's no way I could be stuck in this house with no way out. You couldn't break the windows. You couldn't break down a door. You couldn't crawl through a chimney. It's nothing. You are literally trapped. And then immediately you go to survival mode and you're like, okay, we got this amount of food in the refrigerator. We don't know how long we're going to be trapped in the house. So you got to go into ration mode. All this stuff is played out in the film. And I thought it was played out really, really well. The performances I felt from our two leads here, Greta Lee and Wagner Moura, is spot on perfect as husband and wife, as mother and father to their two children. I felt them. And I especially felt Warner's performance as the father, as the protector. And like any really good man, any real good father, good husband would do, immediately is in protective mode and survival mode and making sure everybody is taken care of, making sure everybody eats, even if he goes without eating and things like that. It was heartbreaking, and you could see behind his eyes in his performance that he wanted to break. He really wanted to break throughout this process, and because this goes on for quite a while, and it was heartbreaking to see his children starving once they start running out of food, trying to find ways to get food, and it was heartbreaking. It truly was. The children in this film probably are the best performances of the film, and that's not to poo-poo on Greta Lee and Wagner Moura. They were great, but the children, they weren't your typical child actors in a film. The acting childish and that type of trope that you see in every movie. They really were real children. I can identify my kids with them in this movie and how they're acting and how they're reacting to situations, and that kind of brought a sense of realism to this fantastical story. And that brings me to how this film was made. This film was made in a way to whereas the focus isn't on the threat. The threat was ever present throughout the film, but that wasn't the story. The story was this family and how they're handling this situation, how they're surviving, finding ways to survive, finding ways to stay grounded or stay family oriented and not lose their minds and flip out on one another and break apart. Even though as time goes on, you can see the cracks starting to form because it's cabin fever. After a while, you get tired of seeing seeing their faces for that amount of time, and it was very interesting how they did it in the film, and I found it entertaining. Here's where the movie kind of loses me in a way. The film basically, I guess I could spoil this one little thing, even though it doesn't affect the climax or what's going on. But they're in the house for 5 years. They're stuck there for 5 years. And once we do a time jump and you see that they're still moving about, doing their thing, trying to keep a routine going to whereas, they don't go insane. You're like, okay, after 5 years, something should have shifted, as far as this family dynamic. Something should have changed. And some of the ways they used to survive as far as getting food and stuff of that nature didn't logically make sense. It just did not add up to me. And it kind of threw me off. There's no way they could have survived in that house in the way that they were doing it for a couple of days, maybe a week or two max. Yeah, but 5 years? No, I just don't believe. I just don't believe it. In the film didn't help it any. The screenplay didn't help it any. So to put it plainly, I just hate movies that do that. That do these time jumps like that and expect you to just suspend yourself from reality and just roll with it. If it's done well enough, you can, but it wasn't done well enough to justify a 5-year gap. So that's where it kind of falls apart. And then the end of the film made no sense. It made no sense at all. It did, because like I said, for 5 years there was a threat, and at the end of this 5 years, after one confrontation, the threat was gone. And it's hard for me to kind of explain it because there'll be spoilers involved in that. But just if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go watch it in your seat. You kind of understand where I'm coming from. It didn't make sense how we resolved the issue. Well, the issue really wasn't resolved, but we did get kind of a quote unquote happy ending, I guess. I don't know. It was just weird. It's just weird the way it ended, but it made sense in a way because, yeah, the world would be in that condition after all this time has passed. But what are you gonna do? I mean, it was just weird, It was nothing happy about it, but it went off like it was happy, like we conquered the world. No, you didn't. you at the end of the day, you was better in the situation that you was in previously, in my humble opinion. But that's just my opinion. It was unsatisfying. It was unsatisfying. But I will say I'm giving this a passing grade. I did enjoy it. I was entertained. The performances will keep you engaged in the story, and I would say up till the like the last 15 minutes of the movie, this did not feel like a Netflix movie. This felt like a theatrical film. This felt like a film they could have put in the theaters, and probably made a nice chunk of change, because I thought that it was theatrical worthy. I mean, everything felt theatrical. It didn't feel like your typical Netflix movie, in my humble opinion. Now, once we got to the end, and it still didn't feel Netflixy. It was just not a well constructed ending, but it was it was really really good as far as the quality. I think the cinematography was great. We're contained in this house for I don't know what 96% of the movie. You know, it was cool, and you never got bored. I didn't get bored not one time watching the movie, and that's saying something, because there's no real like big action sequences throughout this film. There's none, other than the last couple of scenes, when they confront this thing. But it wasn't none of that. This was more of a family drama than a science fiction thriller, and I appreciate it for that. I appreciate it for that. Old Louis Olivier, I believe that's how you say his last name. He's French. It is. This is a different turn from him, and I like to see more movies like this from him. A smaller, contained story. Even though I like his bigger films, I love The Transporter. The Transporter is a guilty pleasure, man. Loved it. I loved the Hulk. I liked Clash of the Titans, the remake. Was it? Did it live up to the original? No, but it was. It was entertaining. It was entertaining, and this was entertaining as well. The Last House gets a letter grade of a C plus. Yeah, really good, really really good. I highly recommend it. I think this is. I, Even though I say it didn't feel like a Netflix film, it's perfect for Netflix. It's perfect to sit down and just click it on and enjoy it. It's really worth your time. It just has a few bumps along the way, but that's just one man's opinion. I would like to know yours. Did you enjoy The Last House, or are you planning on checking out The Last House? I recommend it for you. Let me know. You can subscribe to the KBRadioNetwork.com website, where you can be notified of new episodes dropping here on the channel, and also listen to previous episodes from the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube, and like this video while you're there. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of the Netflix science fiction thriller, The Last House. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.